Welcome back, dear listeners. Couldn't get enough of Connect More? Well, it's your lucky day. And mine, since I've got a couple questions to ask these cats. In this Connect More Shorty, we'll connect some more? Whatever. Let's see what more these puds can possibly have to say.
Hey, yo, welcome to a Connect More Shorty. I'm Eric. There's John.
Guten Tag.
That's Brian.
Welcome.
And there's Jason.
Hi-ho.
In these bonus episodes, we take a question from our producer about anything. And this is basically the first time we've heard this question, so there's no prep. Madam Producer, what's your inquiry?
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, yeah, this one is kind of relevant for me because I was just telling somebody at work this very same piece of advice because it was very relevant to a problem that she was finding herself in. And you guys are going to like this because the person that gave me this advice is Mary Heenick.
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so, hey, Ruben, Mary Heenick crosses paths with all of us. She was the school nurse at Prairie High School when me and Brian and John went there. And then she was also the lead counselor or whatever, Jason?
The camp director at YMCA Camp Wapsie. Yeah.
Yeah, where Jason was a camp counselor. So what did she share with you?
Well, of course, we were a bunch of 20-year-old morons, right, that had a lot of responsibility for doing programs and taking care of young children and making sure they were all safe and the programming was fun and exciting. And let's just say that sometimes we weren't super on top of our game. And sometimes we didn't put enough effort into getting everything all planned out. And we would run to Mary, like, Mary, this isn't working out, or I didn't do it. We're not going to be able to pull off this program. And she would look right at us and say, poor planning on your part is not an emergency on my part. And she would close the door. And we would just have to go figure it out. And I've always remembered that because it was just such important advice for me to realize I can't impose my insanity on other folks. Like, you just got to take responsibility for yourself and get it done. So thank you, Mary Heenick. We got to send her the link to this podcast when this comes out. She'll love hearing all of us on the same thing, by the way. So
we all love Mary. She would recruit us into the talent show every year, whether we had talent or not. And she always was there as the actual. It's funny that you said counselor, Eric, because that's what she was, regardless of who had the guidance counselor title. Like, she was the source of information you would go to as an adult. And she really did try that thing that was prevalent in the 70s and 80s of just like empowering young people with information and letting them make their own decisions. We even had a whole curriculum over at Kirkwood where they would talk about our ILAC tag, our I am lovable and capable, and it was all like that build self-esteem stuff that is very much out of favor now. But she, along with some other folks there, bought into it. And I think there's something to it. I mean, she's been pretty consistent with it the whole way. And I think it's had a pretty good effect. It clearly did with you, even though you are an older moron now.
Exactly right. Weenus, share us some advice. All
right.
What steered you?
Most of my life, I've learned from other people's mistakes, right? You learn by watching other people fuck up, and then you learn not to do that, right? So in the military, I had this one sergeant. I don't remember. I think it was a Master Sergeant Douglas Pettis. And he always said no to everything. He was my sergeant when I was enlisted. Said no to frickin' everything. And he was said, hey, you're just a private. You're not going to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. And he looked at me and said, you want to be an officer? There's no way you're going to be an officer. I was like, I'm going to prove you fucking wrong. So, and that's just before I started college. I had already been in basic training, already been in AIT, was going to start ROTC, and went through, already had a couple annual trainings under my belt, and he was just like, no way. And so here's my thing. I don't say you're not going to be able to do anything. You can do whatever you like. You really can. It might not be in the timeline you like. That's the way I kind of encourage people. I don't say, no, you can't, you're not ever going to be able to do that. I said, well, maybe you're a 5-year person to go to college, and that's okay. I was, right? Not everything works out in your timeline. I guess that's kind of, I'm not going to say no to anybody. I'll say not yet.
Love that.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I like that. Mine is actually, it won't be shocking to you folks when I say what it is, because you hear it all the time from me, but it truly is a wonderful piece of advice, I think. And I got this piece of advice when I was at the University of Northern Iowa. I didn't have to, it was a elective. I took a class. It was like for people that were going to coach football, like high school football. And I took it from the Northern Iowa head football coach at the time, Terry Allen. And he's where I get the adjust accordingly phrase, which I use all the time. I almost make it a sport to use it in my work emails whenever I can. But it truly is something to think about, and adjust accordingly to me is like that. Have a plan. It's always great to have a plan till you get punched in the face, right? And so, and that's big to me because I was not very flexible a lot of the times. Like I had to have the plan, and the plan had to go, or I was a mess. And so that adjust accordingly just rings in my ears. And when something goes off plan, I'm like, time to adjust accordingly. Let's go. Circle the wagons.
Yep, good move. That's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of dudes in youth, right? Set up these plans, whether they're realistic or not, and are just like, I'm going to do this. And learning to have that flexibility is part of maturity, and it can take a long time to learn. I love that you got that early.
Well, I saw at UNI, they put us all in a room, like 600 of us that were all like accounting majors on our first week. They put us in an auditorium and they said, okay, look at the person to your left, look at the person to your right. Those two people will be gone. They're not going to be accounting graduates from UNI. And you know
like
what?
The Navy SEALs
right.
program?
They were right.
It's like, God damn, this is hardcore.
They were right. They only graduated by 200 a year at the time. So they were totally correct. You know how this goes. You saw so many people change majors. Some people had 5, 6 majors. They changed, not everybody, kept the entire game plan all along, right?
You know what they did?
Adjust accordingly.
That's it, baby. John, give us some advice.
I've been through a couple of rough career transitions. If my life was perfect, I would have a trust fund and I would travel around doing political campaigns with people just for kicks. And but you can't do that and also build a career at the same time. And so I had a really hard reckoning probably, 16, 17 years ago. And one of the pieces of advice I received is, get paid for your skill, not your passion. And that's the way to build for the long term. And I know I was definitely pursuing being paid for my passion. When I was a young person, I think I thought, you find your highest and best use, and it's all about creativity, and you're going to do this amazing thing, and it's going to be one thing. And actually, the road to happiness is much closer to finding what you're skilled at, whether that has a big emotional component for you or not, and just delivering it. And then the discovery is that a job well done is a thing to hang your hat on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
Yep, I would agree.
Well, another piece of advice that kind of dovetails with that, John, and I think it's an interesting kind of corollary to that is, and actually, who gave me this advice, Ween, was Steve Mumford.
Oh, okay.
He said, at work, make yourself irreplaceable.
Yeah, great.
And like use that skill so that you cannot be replaced. And I just thought that was always really good advice too. And I think it dovetails with that idea of your skill.
If you bring a clear skill set, you survive any weather, in the environment. Like it doesn't matter who's in, who's out, or whatever it is. You're like, well, of course you need that guy. And, I came upon that in mid-career and by accident.
So, guys, I have one more piece of advice here, and it's very direct, and it's for our producer, actually. And after reading the script for this shorty, I would just like to give my producer some advice. Producer, it's I before E, except after C.
Oh, wow.
Have we ever burnt our producer on this show yet?
No.
Is this the
that's
first burn?
So
I
mean.
thought your advice was going to be, hey, producer, don't work unless you're getting paid for it. I thought that's what you were going to say.
Right.
Hell no.
Don't
I'm
say
not
never
gonna-
give it away.
I'm not
Don't give
saying
it
that.
away.
We're
That's
not
fantastic.
giving her that advice.
Wow.
We're
Meow.
screwed if we give her
Jocko.
that advice.
I know.
Meow.
Well, look,
Bring the
folks,
claws back in. Oh, Lord.
if this chat sparks some thought in you, pass it on, share your advice, listen to others' advice, and together we'll all connect more. Producer, please roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to Connect More. I'm the producer. Please subscribe and like this podcast because it's my only chance of getting paid for this gig. Connect More is a product of Pan Tiger LLC and is hosted by Brian Danielson, Eric Van Lanker, Jason Nisus, and John Hedgecoth. Connect More is edited by me and Jocko. The showrunners are Jax, Hedge, and Weenus. Theme music written and recorded by Ryan Veeder. Cover art designed by Leon Golden. Musical director is Evil. Legal liaison is Brian. Lead writers are John and Eric. Runner-up writers are Jason and Captain Danielson. Publication coordinator is Jax. Special thanks to GVC, Aaron, Miss Roper, and Yoko. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure to follow Connect More on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.